Hey guys, welcome to Juicy Tea, where I read out the best stories on Reddit, so you don't have to. The funny, shocking, and satisfyingly juicy. Today is Antiwork Monday, with a few stories that will help you get through the week. It's real, it finally happened to me. On my 1-year anniversary with the company last Friday, the CEO and the new Director of Ops said to my face, "We want slaves." Our first post comes from the AmItheAsshole subreddit, posted by I'm the One Who. I had a meeting with the CEO and the 2-month-old Director of Operations on Friday. The fiscal year budget meeting is this month, and I had to give them all my proposals for the board meeting this week. I'll skip that part. The takeaway is, they just wasted 8 months of my life. They vetoed all my proposals, including the one they had demanded I build from the ground up to expand the company. We'll say the meeting was at 10 a.m. It was done by 10:40. I then had to sit there for 40 minutes listening to them feed off each other. You know those times when you're like, man, I wish I could be a fly on the wall for that meeting. I was that fly. They completely forgot I was there, and they spun down that rabbit hole you see and hear, not only here but everywhere. I'm talking all the stereotypes. Nobody wants to work anymore. For every 100 jobs, only 25 people can fill them. We pay workers too much money here. Workers should just show up and work. That's what we pay them for. The workers here have too many rights, too many privileges. We cater to them too much. They're spoiled. They complain about everything. They should just show up, shut up, and do their job. Who needs privacy? Who needs individuality? They're just gonna have to deal with how we want to run the place. They were taking turns in front of me, feeding off each other. I left, flabbergasted, and set my things down in my office. I went and found my boss. He wished me a 1-year happy anniversary, and I had to tell him everything that just happened. It was the first time that I ever heard this very religious man say F. Well, actually, he said, those effing Fs have no idea what the hell they're doing in this place. He's been here 30 years and has been contemplating retirement as it is. He put in for a weeks-long vacation next week, his reason being for reflection. For reference, this is a non-union mum-and-pop shop, and the owner has stated if he ever hears a whisper of a union, he'll shut the place down immediately and sell everything, so can't really go that route. I have started telling key individuals what happened, and so far, I'm hearing its rumblings going around. I guess time will tell what happens, but honestly, I don't see any positives in any scenario that I can think of. I'm at a loss as to what to do next, honestly. I've started looking for other jobs, which sucks because I love my job and my coworkers very much, especially my boss. How is it that the worst people in the world are the ones in charge of things? Once upon a time, I'd have assumed that this was a BS ragebait post, but these days, I'm honestly not so sure. Is it legal to leak a video of my boss's porn-watching habits at work? Posted by Ralphie0027. I've recently been dealing with a borderline abusive boss. I don't really feel like typing out all the details as it's been very stressful lately, but basically, a few months ago, he was playing music off his tablet that he leaves at work. I was scheduled to close, and he let me know to shut it off. Upon doing this, I was closing the open apps, and I noticed the porn search was left wide open on the Chrome app, so I looked through the history. It's pretty much just pages and pages of strictly ebony porn. This is a white 65-year-old man, all over his tablet, mostly on the dates and times that he was here. Naturally, I recorded all the evidence, along with the matching time and date stamps of him being at work. At this point, I no longer want to work here, and I'm not really concerned about getting fired as I plan to quit without notice pretty soon. When I do so, would I get in any legal trouble for emailing this out to the district? This manager has been known to be a problem, and nothing has been done as our DM just turns a blind eye. Racist and homophobic rhetoric is almost a daily occurrence. He already got a slap on the wrist a while back for transphobic comments and screaming at an employee in front of guests. I don't care about this job anymore, but I'd at least like to get rid of him for my coworkers if I leave. But I'd rather not get sued. Any advice? I don't know about the legalities where you live, but at least go over the DM's head and post all the evidence to every email you can find. I mean, it's not like you care about being fired. Strict adherence to the contract backfires beautifully. And our next post is from the MaliciousCompliance subreddit, posted by 2Screens1PC. Had to share this gem of a story from a few years back when I was contracting with a tech firm. Get your popcorn, because this one's a treat. Enter Mr. Grayson, the firm's new operations head. Now, this guy had a reputation for being a stickler for the rules, often to the point of absurdity. Shortly after his arrival, contractors like myself were handed these freshly inked contracts. It was verbose to say the least, but one clause stood out. All contractors shall adhere strictly to the duties outlined in their contract. Any deviation shall result in immediate termination. This was Mr. Grayson's baby, his attempt to ensure that we all stayed in our designated lanes. For context, the firm had a history of being a collaborative environment. Developers would occasionally assist with design queries, and designers, like me, would sometimes offer input on usability to the developers. But Grayson, oh, he wanted none of that cross-departmental nonsense. Now, onto the MaliciousCompliance. A big project was on the horizon, and midway, the development team hit a snag. They identified a design flaw, something my team could have fixed in an hour or two. However, helping them wasn't in my contract, so I sat back, sipped my coffee, and watched the drama unfold. The developers, bound by their contracts, spent days trying to engineer their way around a problem that wasn't theirs to solve. The project timeline got stretched, costs increased, and frustrations bubbled. The climax? A big meeting with the higher-ups, where Grayson had to explain the delays. When the design flaw was brought up, all eyes turned to me. I simply slid a copy of my contract across the table and highlighted the strict adherence clause. I recall the deafening silence in the room, broken only by Grayson's stammering. In the aftermath, Grayson's strict contract idea was trashed. Collaboration resumed, and the project got back on track. And our dear Mr. Grayson? He was reassigned to a different department, far away from meddling with contracts. Too long didn't read. New operations head enforces strict contracts preventing collaboration. A minor hiccup in a project leads to major delays, highlighting the absurdity of the rules. Operations head gets a metaphorical pie in the face and a new assignment. Boss suddenly announced that I'll be expected to be on call. And our last post comes from the Antiwork subreddit, posted by Adorable Practice 460. I, 24 male, work a financial-based 8:30 to 5 office job. Does anyone actually still work 9 to 5 anymore? My boss is kind, and I have respect for her. My pay's not bad for a first job with benefits. Out of nowhere, she called me into her office and announced to me that I'll be issued with a work phone and expected to be on call after work and on weekends starting next week. This was not in my job description, and it's not in my contract. I wasn't sure what to do, so I just sat there and nodded in confirmation that I understood her expectations. What should I do? Update. I met with my boss about her expectations of me being on call. If you're anything like me and you see that labor exploitation, I'm sure this will give you your fair share of fury for the day. I met with my boss this morning to discuss the implications of my on-call work, which I haven't yet received compensation for. I was firm in my assertion that I need to be paid for any overtime work, no matter how long the task may take. I brought up how I was at dinner with my wife, my parents, and my best friend on Friday at 9:45 p.m, and I received a work call. I reluctantly, which I regret doing now, stepped outside to take the call, which lasted about 5 minutes. Regardless, it disrupted an otherwise extremely pleasant evening spent with family and loved ones. Her response to this? The issue you're describing is something that could have and should have been taken care of while you're at work. Anything that could be done during regular office hours will not be compensated additionally for, regardless of the circumstances. Amazed by her cold response, I gave her a confused look and stated that I actually did everything I had to during the day, and the situation that arose was completely out of my control. She didn't agree, so I moved on to the next scenario. I explained how the very next day, while out shopping, my wife, who was at home and about to meet me at the gym, called me and said that my work phone was ringing and it wouldn't stop. I went back home and took an hour to solve the problem that arose, which wasn't the fault of the person calling me at all. It was the fault of my boss for giving them the liberty to do that. When explaining this situation to my boss, she claimed that the issue also could have been solved during work hours. As it was a situation completely out of my control, I replied, "Name. I'll need to be compensated for any work done outside of office hours. It says on our company website that any work done outside of regular hours is eligible for overtime pay, and he can't deny that." Her response was, "Well, I guess we'll have to discuss compensation in our next meeting then." To which I replied, "I don't think there's much to discuss, but I do respectfully request and expect to be compensated accordingly for the tasks I've logged doing and have irrefutable record of. Until then, I don't think it's reasonable for me to continue picking up the phone and disrupting the precious time I have to spend with my wife, my friends and my family, or myself when I'm out of the office." I then walked out of her office. I will update once I receive additional payment, but damn, did it feel good to stand up for myself. If these issues can be solved during work hours, then why don't they just send you an email so you can deal with it once you're back on the clock? And remember, they need you more than you need them. I post new content every day, so subscribe for more juicy tea.